What's up, guys? Welcome back. So today I got the car loaded up and I'm getting ready to take it up here to the exhaust shop. A neighbor of mine owns it, and for me it's just a lot easier to take it somewhere. They got a mandrel bender, can kind of get all the bends it needs and just weld it in versus trying for me to cut 90s into whatever degree I need. I just don't really feel like fooling with it. So I've got the stock manifolds on there. This side actually has like a stock catalytic converter pipe that's empty that actually came with the red car. That side doesn't. So I'm just going to take the H pipe and have them pretty much connect the what I have now to the factory H pipe, and then run some dumps out the back, and hopefully that'll kind of fix the issue of it leaning out randomly. From like 1 to 5,000 RPMs, it runs great, pulls hard, and then it kind of breaks up a little bit. So I figured I'd start with the exhaust, make sure, there's no leaks. The MAF, not the MAF, but the O2 sensors are reading correctly. And from there, if I'm still having some issues, I'll get it tuned. And worst case, get it tuned, and I think that'll pretty much fix everything. So yeah, let's get on it. What's up, guys? So today I believe my fuel pressure gauge and stuff will be here, so I can get that installed and make sure basically under load fuel pressure and stuff's fine. And as long as that's the case, I'll go ahead and get it set up to take it and get it tuned. But as for today, I've kind of got the rear bumper up here, just taped it kind of along the seams. There's 1 or 2 zip ties kind of holding it up, and what I'm about to start working on is cutting the brackets to mount the first rear bar, which is going to come off the welded in part of the cage. It'll bolt on and kind of go right along here, and it'll kind of help support the rear bumper. So figured it, it might be best to go ahead and kind of get some of the nitpicky, but stuff I'm really not feeling doing too much, because now that it's running and driving, I'm kind of like more focused on getting mechanical 100%. But it's better to get something done than nothing while I'm waiting. So I'm gonna go ahead and try and get this mostly welded in, mounted up, and kind of go from there. So the rear end's pretty close to being finished. The bumper is mounted flush. I mean, it looks super good. I was thinking I was gonna have to make some here, but what I ended up doing is I had already drilled some holes to kind of hold the bumper up. Well, they worked out perfectly. Now if I zip tied it, it wasn't perfect on the outside. So what I did is I just used a 1/4 bolt and a nut there, and I actually drilled a hole. There was a hole up here in the bumper, and I drilled a hole through the factory metal to bolt that up, which in my opinion was going to be the hardest part. But after that, those two lined it up perfectly, and I just used zip ties to come in here and secure this. Also got the outer bar mounted, and it sits and rides right along the inside of the bumper, so it actually is also holding the bumper up here. And then it bolts on there. Of course, it's got like a bushing, so there is a little bit of give in it, which is fine. Kind of the design there, so it does have room to give. Eventually, you know, if you hit hard enough, it'll break the bolt, and then, you know, you've got kind of all these bars here to keep that bar from being pushed in any further. So that's, you know, kind of the general overview. I went ahead and cut the rear bumper, you know, the bottom of the bumper out, and let me lower it down and I'll show you guys kind of the tail light insert, stuff like that. And here's the view from the back. This is a 2012 bumper. Those are 2014 tail lights. I was just gonna leave the gap, and then I didn't know they made these pieces for like 30 bucks on American Muscle that takes up the gap. So I just ordered those, stuck those on there. I really like this California Special wing. It looks pretty decent, I think. And then of course, you know, nothing else really changed. Still got to paint all this, which I am going to pull the fuel cell back out. But as you can see, there's the bar, and it runs right along here. And I did go ahead and just drill a hole there, and that more or less, I think I'm just going to use a zip tie for that here and there, and that'll complete the rear end. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do next, but I'll update you guys. What's up, guys? So I was considering cutting this to try and make it fit, because again, I did order a 14. But anyway, long story short, I didn't really, no matter what I did, I wasn't gonna be able to fix that. The hoods on Marketplace are more than I want to pay and further than I want to drive, so I just went ahead and ordered a 2012 bumper, because I did get the headlights pretty much mounted and done. I also went ahead and welded the half cage in. I don't know if I'm going to do any door bars or anything. Now I was kind of, you know, thinking about how I was going to do the firewall. I'm torn between, you know, just kind of going from here up to, you know, back there and then up, or kind of just going in between the cage here. So that's kind of what I'm, you know, figuring out now. Just trying to finish up some, you know, just kind of random small stuff that's left. I say small stuff, but it's kind of random. Just finishing up stuff I know that needs done while I'm waiting to hear back about getting it tuned, more or less. So, like I said, I went in and got that welded in. One less thing to do. And for now, I think, like I said, one less thing to do. But I am kind of leaning towards maybe just doing the firewall up the cage. You know, I think that might be the easiest route to go. Because the cage is a little bit further, you know, kind of forward here, I would probably bring it from here up to here, so it would kind of be, you know, off the plane of the cage, but then, you know, do the other ones exactly as the cage, you know, on the same plane as the cage, more or less. But that kind of seems like it might be the easiest route, but either way, I'll kind of update you guys once I've got it figured out and I'm working on it. Alright, so what I ended up doing was I did end up getting half the firewall installed. I cut one piece of metal, I think it was like 57 by 22 inches, put it in there, traced the pieces out I needed. The one I kind of trimmed to fit inside, and the other I kind of trimmed to fit, I didn't really trim it, I fit it behind. So, you know, it's not perfect, but it's good enough. So I went ahead and hit it with a quick coat of enamel, mainly just to keep it from flash rusting, because we've been having a lot of rain, and that's just something I don't want to deal with. So I did get the two bottom pieces in. And basically tomorrow I'll make the top pieces and figure out some way, because I am just going to utilize the factory seat belts, so I just got to figure out a way. I'm probably just going to weld a tab onto the cage for the upper piece to go on, but I am going to have to figure out a way to bring it through the firewall. So it'd probably be easiest just to like notch the metal for the belt to run through. Maybe put a piece of rubber, you know, like a piece of hose, gasket hose or something on it to keep it from like catching or something like that. But yeah, more or less, I figured this would be easier than trying to rebuild the floor pan. So more than likely what's going to happen is once I get this done, I'll still put the glass back in it, but that'll be it. So everything in the rear will be easy to access. So you can get in there and make adjustments or whatnot. I'm thinking about, because I'm not gonna be able to see out the back window anyway, so I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna spray paint the windows black so you can't see in. So, you know, say you're rolling up to a comp or something and, you know, they won't detect the car. Nobody will ever know this thing has custom suspension under it for the most part, unless you watch these videos. So, that'd be pretty cool. Again, wish I could keep it, because this thing would be pretty sick to take to some comps, but somebody's going to end up with a super good car either way. So, that's all I'm going to do for today, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. What's up, guys? So still just kind of plugging away at this 197 here. Since a lot of the stuff I have left is just random, I've just been kind of videoing as I went as far as kind of like what I'm getting done. So I basically got the firewall finished. I'm not, you know, an expert sheet metal worker by any means. So, but I'm happy with it, considering, you know, my experience and the tools I have. But plans are in the future, you know, is to kind of up, you know, as I can, just get better and better tools for this kind of stuff, just like I have in the past, which is why I like doing stuff like this, because it forces me to do stuff I'd have no reason to do otherwise, and that's the only way to get better. So again, I've kind of got it all painted, all in there, it's sealed off. I did on kind of like some of the edges, I have metal, but I also have some expandofoam in there. It's the fireproof kind, mainly just because of where my exhaust dumps. I'm more concerned with, you know, occupant safety as far as air quality than I am if somebody sees some expandofoam back there. So it just kind of is what it is. It's mainly behind the firewall though, and kind of like in between the main support bar. And again, that's just to kind of, you know, seal the cabin. So I've also went ahead and painted the rear windshield black, because you can't see out of the back anyways. And that's just kind of like the easiest route, because I do want it blacked out. I was going to do the same thing with side windows, but I think now I've kind of, you know, rethought it. And I think what I'm going to do is cut, basically use the windows as templates, and then cut side windows out of some 18 gauge sheet metal, and then more or less add like a flip out scoop. And that's mainly for, you know, exhaust extraction, like say if you're idling or something, because it is going to want to rise. And if you have all glass in there, it really has nowhere to go. So I am going to do that. And I think, you know, with all that, it should be fine. So, yeah, that's kind of what I'm working on today, is getting all that done. I'm hoping within this week or next week, I'm going to take it to get it tuned. And if that's the case, then I do plan to take it to the Mid-Pond Mustang event. And I really hope I can make that, because it is all Mustangs. And, of course, this thing's super unique. I don't even think you'll be able to tell. It's you know, you'll tell, but it won't look super crazy, you know, with the stock glass, stuff like that. You really, you know, most people won't know what it kind of has under it, which to me is kind of the coolest part. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to keep this one. I just got some parts that I couldn't sell that I put in this car to hopefully get it all gone, get my money back, and then I can kind of finish some other, you know, that project. But I am still going ahead and building this kind of, you know, how I was going to build it for myself anyways. Because if you're going to build it, you might as well do it how you want it. So, yeah, without any more, I'll kind of update you guys on anything else I got going on, and talk to you later. What's up, guys? So today's Saturday. My bumper ended up coming today. It wasn't supposed to be here till Monday, so I went ahead and kind of got this top hoop, for lack of better words, done. I was almost out of tubing. This is the piece that I used to have the EcoBoost mounted with. It wasn't quite long enough. However, I mainly put this here to hold the bumper, so I did just kind of cut a few short pieces of tube and weld them in. I'm going to smooth it out, then when you paint it you won't even be able to tell. But that's mainly just there for the, like I said, the bumper. So I am going to do a couple tabs on it to kind of hold the bumper up. Overall, fitment's pretty decent just because, you know, as of right now it's just kind of held up here with some zip ties and then like the headlight brackets, which, to be fair, to have, you know, mounted the headlights and fenders without a bumper, it actually wasn't that bad. It all looks pretty decent. The left side looks a little bit better than the right side, but when you kind of, you know, you can kind of play with the bumper a little bit and get it closer. So worst case scenario, you know, I got to move the headlight over a tiny bit, but I don't think that's my issue because as you see here, it's just, it'll make that gap worse. So it's just the fact of it's an eBay bumper and it'll need a little bit of massaging to get right. So this is kind of what it looks like now. I do got to finish looming up the wiring, stuff like that, but all in all, I'm actually super happy with it. Yesterday I'd finished up the Firewall. Well, I ain't gonna be able to open the door all the way this way, but I'd finished up the Firewall. Basically doesn't rattle anything like that. I cut these using the windows as templates and then riv nutted them in so you can remove them. Like I said, I ended up spray painting this back windshield just because there's literally nothing under there, and honestly you can't even tell it. You even can still see the lines in here, so it just looks like a super dark tint. The rear of the car is done. Everything's lined up phenomenally, and that's mainly because, you know, I still left the metal quarters. But let's put it in the air and look at it. Okay, so again, the reason for spray painting that window was because I left all this open, so you can kind of get in here and work if you needed to, you know, make adjustments on your anti-squat. Like I said, you can't really tell, but there's the Firewall. But yeah, all sealed up from the cabin. Like I said, no rattling, nothing like that. And just, you know, a little bit of probably come in here and hit it with some paint, something like that. But the you know, all the kind of loose metal was spot welded and then seam sealed. But yeah, this is where the back seat used to go. And you got plenty of room in here to kind of get in here and work. So I think that'll be it for this video. It's kind of a lot of random small stuff finishing up. I did get some harnesses today. I just went with some 4-point Amazon harnesses, nothing special, but it just was going to be impossible to make the stock seat belts work with a Firewall. So I'll probably try and get those installed maybe Monday because Napa will be closed tomorrow and they didn't come with nuts, and I know they're some kind of crazy metric, I guarantee it. So yeah, without any more, that'll kind of be it for this video. I think the next video will probably be it on the dyno, hopefully Tuesday, with John at Evolve Tuning over in Georgia. So yeah, thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video. What's up, guys? Welcome back. So today we got the drift car loaded up. We're getting ready to head over to Georgia, get it tuned. Also going to go ahead and throw a timing set on a Gen 2 S550 for Matt while we're there, and I got my sidekick with me, so stay tuned. Alright, so day 2 over here at Evolve Tuning. Long story short, this car was just supposed to be like a quick timing job, phaser job. Turned into having a spun bearing, not necessarily a spun bearing, but a bearing starting to seize. So what we're going to do is we were just going to trade out the initial, you know, timing job for the tune, but more or less now that it's turned into this, I pretty much decided, or you know, Matt and I kind of offered, I said, hey, it makes more sense to me. If you want me to finish this, I don't have any problem doing that. It's kind of my bread and butter. So we're going to actually load up the Gen 2 to go home with us and get that. I think it's going to get a Gen 3 short block, so he's going to get that over to us. And I've already got pretty much all the parts as far as what's needed to kind of do this, and we'll bring it back and get it tossed in that car. So that's kind of what's going on today. The car's over here on the dyno. We're about to get this thing, it's strapped down. We're about to get it. Okay, so finally got around to, I got the Gen 2 engine that I pulled out of the car from Evolved over there in Georgia, up here on the engine stand, and kind of gonna get it apart, make sure the heads are good, and maybe kind of see what carnage it's got in the bottom end. I do believe we're gonna go with the Gen 3 short block for this, so this short block won't be getting reused. All new timing setup, etc. So as of right now, I've kind of got it down to just, the long block, and gonna go ahead and finish getting it apart. Okay, so this is cylinder 5, and I actually pulled a spark plug out of that cylinder over at the shop, and it looked pretty bad. But as you can see, it looks a lot different than the rest of the cylinders. Almost like something's getting in there. It definitely had some blow-by, but blow-by generally doesn't clean the piston. Usually that's fuel or, it's like coolant. All the other cylinders look relatively same. I'm not a tuner, but to me this almost looks like it might have been a little lean. The cylinder walls look pretty good. I'm not going to reuse this block. So, from what I can tell, the heads actually look pretty decent. It's just going to be a matter of getting these to the machine shop and having them cleaned up and kind of let them determine, from there. But in my experience, I've pulled Coyote engines apart, missing pistons, and the heads were fine. I say the heads were, it had some bent valves, but that's no problem. That's an easy fix. So, yeah, kind of got everything laid out on the table here. I do think I'm going to pull the oil pan off this, because I do kind of want to see what cylinder was the issue, because I did find a lot of small bearing material throughout the motor, which is common. So I got the filters out of the cams. Those actually didn't look as bad as I thought they would. The passenger side had more metal than the driver's side, but typically you see a ton of metal in something like that. But I also believe this was caught super early, because kind of what was going on with the car, they didn't even think it had a rod knock. It had a lot going on with the phasers. But once we inspected the oil filter, stuff like that, there was obviously bearing material in there. And in my opinion, the bearing it's got hot enough to kind of close up on the crank, but it hasn't spun yet. So, which isn't bad. The crank may even be okay. But yeah, without any more, let's get on it. Okay, so I've kind of rotated the engine over a couple times, just trying to see if I could spot the issue. And right off, there's nothing super loose, but what I'm kind of looking at right now is how dark this rod cap is in comparison to everything else. And 5, 6, 7, yeah, this cylinder 7. And what's crazy is, I'm not mistaken, the last one I had an issue with was cylinder 7. So I'm going to pull this cap off, and I'm going to go ahead and say this is the issue. We'll see. Oh yeah, see, Damn rod bearing ain't even in the cap because it's still on the crank. Oh yeah, it's super loose in there. Yeah, heat, that'll do it. It's generally not too hard to spot. Also, in a case like this, say if you were going to fix this engine, I would go ahead and replace the rod next to it, simply because if this one's got hot, so is that one. Of course, I wouldn't take an engine apart to this far and then not replace, the mains as well, kind of measure everything out. But typically, I generally rebuild these more for like a stock rebuild, so I'm not quite as concerned with, measuring all the nitty gritty, mainly kind of like the clearances. I generally use OEM style rings, stuff like that, OEM gap. So I might check one or two on that end, and then as long as they're good, go from there. But I've never had any issue, and I rebuilt probably 20 of these last year. Oh yeah, see this thing, it's stuck. Okay, so more or less, since I use the S550 fans, from what I've seen, kind of determined, there's 3 relays in an S550. You can see now they're going off because they are controlled by the PCM. However, on an S197, you've only got 1 fan, and that has a low and a high speed relay. Well, considering this is mainly a track car and the high speed comes on at a later temp, I had it wired originally to do both, but I think what this does is one of these fans is high speed, one's low speed. And I didn't really see a point in only 1 fan running, so I basically used the original S197 high speed relay that I wired off the computer to trigger 2 more relays to power both of these fans. There's no reason to only have 1 fan running on a track car. So now, as you can see, like kind of what'll happen is, yeah, that cooled off fast. That was like 220 degrees, and now it's back down to 194. So if this were to climb back up, I think to 224 or 216, something like that, it'll kick both on and more or less bring that down pretty quick. So as of right now, the wiring on this car is pretty much done. Still need to loom some of it and add a couple fuses to some of the power circuits. I'm probably just going to add a fuse panel under the hood. Kind of making everything work with the PCM and stuff like that. See, the fans just came on, and they pull a ton of amps when they come on. So, like I said, everything's pretty much wired on the car. Really, the only thing left to do is put the harnesses in here and button up the interior. And today I went down to like the local paint store and had them paint match 3 quarts of this blue. And I went ahead and just got like a cheap Harbor Freight spray gun. So I guess the next day or 2 I'm going to work on getting this sanded down and sprayed, and honestly it'll pretty much be done. So I'm probably just going to, whatever video I post next is probably just going to include a ton of stuff, and then I'll kind of wrap it up with hopefully a track day. I got to get in contact with Ken and see if he can hook me up with that, since I missed the Mustang event this past weekend. So yeah, I'll update you guys kind of in the future. Okay, so I think I'll end this one here. As you saw, I got the fans working. They're triggered by the PCM. The only thing is, if you noticed, they're both kicking on at the same time, and it's a really big amp draw. So I think what I'm going to do is wire one of my relays to a switch, and then you can kind of, run it as needed. It doesn't really seem like a good option as far as, maybe putting a delay switch, something like that. Capacitors aren't really a thing on automotive stuff like this, so I'm not going to run another battery. It's just the main issue to me is the big amount of amp draw that's happening with both coming on at the same time. So I think I'm just going to put one on a flip switch. Also, I do still have a relay for the low speed in there, and I may actually do that. To me, it would make more sense to be able to run both fans as needed. So I'm thinking the flip switch will be the way I go. That's going to be it for this video, I believe, because I'm getting ready to start getting the stickers off the side, sand it down. I'm going to spray it. So that'll be what's coming up next. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the, the kind of like the reveal of the color. So talk to you later.